Yes, we are this rather large, growing, dysfunctional family. We're together again. Great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Tuesday, August 25, year of our Lord 2026. 9:10 and change on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. Broadcasting today from the United States of America, a place where the brave, like the veterans we will salute today, having lost them this year. But we will salute them because of John Basiliga and Serenity Care, his personal care community. Like Joseph Bellomo, Pittston, John Gavern, Scranton, Kenneth Slusser, Shick-Shinny. The United States of America, founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our amazing, irreplaceable, and profoundly wise founding fathers who knew that government should not be and then set out to make sure it never could be. Our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things. Because more government power and involvement means less freedom, less liberty, and less choice. They also knew that government power and size, because of human nature, would be abused. Oh, we know that. We're only a few years off COVID. The United States of America, the country where for the first time in human history, freedom was declared by law to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. Freedom couldn't be parceled out to groups. It couldn't be controlled by government or government officials because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and freedom of the press, even if they use it to lie, because we're free to ignore them. Now, because they were armed with these freedoms, and only because of that fact, these Americans, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, many of them rejects from around the world, they and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro show will always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And so, we gavel to order today's meeting, the Tuesday meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our total, immersive, immovable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here for the balance of this singular, extraordinary morning. Well, here we are. And you heard that. Just a parent. When did these fools, these left-wing activists, when did they start to think that they could turn education, reading, writing, arithmetic, the 3 R's, into indoctrination, into their brand of lunacy? It's really crazy. And parents finally fighting back when we weren't looking. I cannot say that I faced it in the Dunmore School District, although it's orthodoxy to be Democrat there, nor did my children. But certain places around the country, you got to make sure that these lunatics are not running the asylum. I don't know, Joe from 44 gives me an LTS. Back at you, Joe. He says, Bob, you say to Dems, you don't have to change your party, just change your party. It won't work because these people aren't happy until they're not happy. Just my observation. But that's not the normal person that's registered Democrat. They can be fazed by reality, fact, and truth. And we've got to hope they can be. Certainly more than 50% of the people overall. We got enough goofy Republicans, too. In any event. Hey, you can catch us on YouTube. The live stream. I've got my Camp Freedom shirt on today. And I try to wear it once a week, a Camp Freedom shirt. But it's brought to you by Roach Supply. They are the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. And they're celebrating 75 years in business, fourth generation. 3 of them still working side by side because Roach is led by Ron Roach, 96-year-old veteran, and 2 other generations, maybe even 3 working under him. Visit roachsupply.com today, ROCHE, or go to their stores in Honesdale under the name of Roach Supply, or South Abington Township in Lackawanna County under the name Chapman Supply. Bob LTS, somebody says, or Slick says, he says, like my boss always said, you can't have the clowns running the circus. And if the Dems get in charge, that's what will happen. It's true. Joe from Trips Park says, I was heartbroken when my son had to sign his football form and looked at me and said he can't sign because he doesn't know cursive. He wasn't taught it. Joe says, we'll be teaching him, but what was the purpose of dropping cursive yet picking up DEI? Could you imagine this? We had a state rep, but he left. Up in Wayne County, I'm just blanking on the name at the moment. But he had proposed a bill about 2 or 3 years ago to bring cursive back to the schools. I mean, again, they gave up on everything normal that they were supposed to be doing. And remember, this is the teachers union led by wacko Randy Weingarten, absolute wacko idiot. And the bureaucracies, the bureaucrats, the Department of Education in Washington, D.C., which the Trump administration is trying to dismantle. And kids aren't prepared for anything. They don't know geography. That's crazy, Joe. You know, and it's something I don't think about. I got grandchildren about to start school. One starting kindergarten, but you know, my kids are grown. You know, they're grown up. They're all in their 30s. So I don't know. I haven't had to face it, but you're right. It had to be heartbreaking, Joe. It really had to be. You say, my gosh, my kid doesn't know something that basic. What are they teaching? Oh, Lord. All right, 9:19 on my Ricardo Jewelers Watch. We'll take a break, and then we'll come back with a little history, a little music. But first, listen to who our sponsors are. We love them. as with every day, I learn something. Very often from my man Murph. He says August 25, 1958, a doo-wop group from Staten Island, New York. They reworked the Mozart lullaby, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and had the #1 hit this date, that year, with Little Star. Bob Cordaro back for you on the program. And just to mention a sad anniversary. 13 years ago, a guy named Mike Sanders, father of 3, he was killed by a drunk driver at Montage Mountain. My friend Tommy Portnovo, my cousin and friend Tommy Portnovo reminding me of it. He's survived by his mother, father, and 3 daughters. You know, as Tommy notes, guaranteed it will bother them forever. It'll be something. Oh, Lord. Sad, sad, sad. Thank you, though, Tommy. We want to remember Michael Sanders this day. Tragic, tragic anniversary. All right. On a completely different note. By the way, Tom from Dallas texts in, and this is so true. Remember, this is what they're trying to undermine. Tom makes this point. If kids can't read cursive, they will go to Washington, D.C. and look at the Declaration of Independence, and they can't read it. And doesn't it say to you maybe that's part of it? That's maybe the point? Crazy. All right, Larry from Plymouth. How are you, Sir Lawrence?
Hi, Bob. After yesterday, I did not sleep all night. When I was on yesterday, after I was on, a guy called up after me, said I was off the rails about trucks.
Well, it's
that
a
I
combination.
wanted to get rid of all the
it was
trucks
a combination.
and everything.
It was a combination.
And Bob, and you agreed with him.
No,
you
Larry,
agreed with him, Bob.
Larry,
you know what you were doing, both of you? You were hearing, but you weren't listening.
No, you're getting like a left winger. The rails comment, Larry off the rails, was somebody joking in a text. And you're conflating it with the conversation I had with the truck driver from Scott Township who said we need trucks and all the related jobs.
Well, no, what I said, Bob, I said that I didn't say get rid of the trucks. I said you would have rails to do the long hauls cross country. They would drop the stuff at depots, and then the local trucks would deliver to those places.
And he's pointing out that the long haul trucking provides a lot of jobs and a
the guy
said, lot of jobs we don't think
the guy
about
said,
either.
they buy a lot of tires. Hey, I don't give a shit if they go out of business because they overcharge it anyway.
Who?
Tire companies.
See, Larry, now you've
got some ads, Bob. I won't mention the names, but buy 4, get 1 free. You don't get a damn thing free. They overcharge you for the 3.
Well, Coast takes good care of me, but that's a separate issue.
Well,
let's get back to the point.
Yes.
It takes care of by the way, Coast takes good care of everybody, but that's a separate issue. Let's get back to this. No, the trucking industry, in terms of pure jobs, I'll just give you an example. The head of the Teamsters came into Northeast Pennsylvania to endorse and promote Rob Bresnahan for Congress. There's 10,000 plus truckers in Northeast Pennsylvania. Now, please tell me, trains are not a viable alternative, number one, just on sheer reality. But number two, the trucking industry is huge in terms of, and not just the trucks, all the related things that Charles was talking about.
Let those guys get other jobs, Bob. There are needs for thousands and thousands of plumbers, electricians, welders. Let them jump into that. Hey, I lost my job one time. I had to get a different job.
Well, I'm not going to even agree. I never agree to disagree. I'll just tell you you're wrong.
Well, that's one thing, Bob, that you said there. The thing is, I am never wrong. Never. I am one person that's never wrong. Oh, and about another thing, Bob.
Yes.
You know, I remember I talked about the China Clipper.
Yes.
Okay. Well, you know where it made one of its stops? New Caledonia, where Frank took it to.
No kidding. Well,
Yes.
guess what? You're not going to believe this. What a coincidence, because Rick Bigelow emailed me today, and he said Frank got tired of New Caledonia, and he's moved to a sandbar at Luganville Espiritu Santo, Vanuatu.
Oh, we'll have to find out if they stopped there.
Vanuatu, I apologize. I'm going to have to get used to it.
But Bob, like I told you,
Frank Frank Sinatra doesn't sit on
there.
Frank
They
Sinatra.
had a dining room. They had sleeping quarters.
Yeah.
Oh my! And Bob, they were double deckers.
We could agree on the Pan Am Clipper.
Yes. Well, Bob, before Pan Am, there was somebody else that owned it, and then it went to Boeing, and then from Boeing it went to Pan Am.
What? Boeing ran an airline at one time?
What's that?
Boeing ran an airline at one time?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're mistaken on it. I think the Pan Am was the company.
No, they didn't. They didn't originally make it. No, there was another one.
No. There was those were McDonnell Douglas planes, but they were McDonnell Douglas planes, but always operated by Pan Am.
Well, no, I don't think so. You better check it out, because I'll check it out.
No,
I was on the computer about it yesterday.
I'm going to ask you to check it out.
Okay, and I can't remember the name of it.
I believe it to be Pan Am, and they used McDonnell Douglas planes.
Well, I'm going to check that out, because I know you're wrong there, Bob.
Because,
and I'm
because
never wrong,
Larry,
you know?
after your trucking error, after your error on the trucking issue,
I
want you to come back. I want you to make a comeback with this Clipper thing. All right?
Okay.
All right, man.
Okay, Bob, you take it easy.
Thank you, my friend.
And straighten out a little bit, Bob.
I'll fly straight from now on. Thanks,
okay.
Larry. All right, man. 9:32 on my Bacardo's watch. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour, as with every hour, this day as with every day, brought to you by our man John Basiliga. And today, it's Tuesday, we like to feature one of his great companies, the Serenity Care Personal Care Community. 4 locations for superior senior living in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, Old Forge at its southern tip, Wyoming and Kingston in Luzerne County. Personal care services and dementia care services at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All of these facilities, all 4, have been completely renovated inside and out. They're accepting new residents. Serenity Care, senior living. They tell you live better. And you can at the gold standard for senior living in Northeast Pennsylvania. Joseph Bellomo. We lost him August 10th this year. His family says the world lost an angel and heaven gained one. He was 79. Mr. Bellomo was from Pittston, and he was surrounded by his family and passed away peacefully after a courageous battle with cancer. A proud veteran of the Vietnam War, graduate of Pittston High School, Joseph worked at Technoglass for 35 years. Like so many of our veterans, he was dependable, he was reliable, he was always there. Joseph would help anyone that would ask, and even those that didn't ask. The word no was not in his vocabulary. Mr. Bellomo only saw the good in people and never had a negative thing to say about anyone. He was always available to help a family member, neighbor, or a friend in need, and will be sadly missed by all. Everyone that knew him loved him for his kindness and politeness. Joseph believed that everyone should be respected, regardless if you agreed or disagreed with them. He's survived by a cousin, godchild, who he loved like a daughter, her husband, additional groups of cousins, many relatives, friends, and neighbors. Joseph Bellomo, our great veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care Personal Care Community, who reminds you, live better. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by Montage Mountain. Well, I know it's iffy this morning, but it looks like it's going to get better. Today, partly sunny with shower in spots this afternoon, high 76. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 54. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, high 82, low 64. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. Storms can bring floating, well, see, I'm going to cross that out. We know this, AccuWeather. We know storms can bring flooding downpours and damaging wind gusts. The temperature will be 79 on Thursday, low 64. Friday, clouds yielding to some sun with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. It'll be humid, high 82, low 58. And then Saturday, partly sunny, pleasant and less humid, 79 degrees with a low 58. Another great water park weekend and a good reason to head up to Montage with the kids, the grandkids, the nieces, the nephews, the whole family, all of that. 64 degrees right now at Montage. Now, a song that would probably be canceled today, but not by the Apaches. This date, 1960, Murph tells us the Shadows had the #1 hit in the UK with their great instrumental hit, Apache. The Apaches would agree, great song, and thank you for honoring us. But the left-wing lunatics would say, oh, it's cultural appropriation. My Lord. Somebody texts in, actually, the teachers' unions don't control curriculum requirements. Please don't try to run that by me. I'm sorry. But they continue. The Pennsylvania Department of Education does. Yes, by what you would think. But, by the way, the education bureaucrats are no better than the people who lead the teachers' unions. They're just as bad. In any event, there's they say a recent law was passed to require cursive. Good. I was wondering what had happened. There is so much required curriculum that our days, this is a teacher, are packed down to minutes required. There's no transition times built into elementary schedules. So if you need to walk your class to art, music, lunch, etc. across the school, you must stop instructional minutes to not be off their schedules. There is so much more, including cursive, I feel are basics, but with more instructional minutes, where do we fit it in when we hope for a mastery of skills and not just the breezing by all the requirements? You can't fit more pickles in the jar just because you want more pickles in there. Teachers are not to blame. I'm not blaming teachers. I'm blaming the teachers' union. Big difference. The teachers' union and the education bureaucracy. I student taught myself. I had a teaching degree. It ain't easy, and it is not easy to sustain. Please don't misread what I'm saying. The leadership of the teachers' union, like the leadership of pretty much all of the public unions, is about a left-wing lunatic agenda, not about education or their jobs. And they use your money to pursue their agenda. That's what I'm saying. I'm not blaming teachers. And by the way, they've got to strip away the requirements. There is another thing I agree with this teacher on. They've got to strip away requirements and go back to basics. Think about a lot of the requirements that are in place, put in place by the bureaucracy and the teachers union, the leadership of the teachers unions. And by the way, teachers need protection from school boards and politicians. That's a guarantee too. But yeah, I don't want you to not think about or not think that I am anti-teacher or blaming teachers for the failure of education in our society. It's the teachers' unions and the bureaucracy of the federal and the state. So just be clear. My friend, attorney John Toronto, tells me that Joe Bellomo's brother Nick went to grade school with him, and they lived on the same block on Railroad Street. In any event, 9:45 on my Ricardo's watch. Let's take this break. We'll come back. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We're going to explain Espiritu Santo and this change that it's Vanuatu Island, formerly the New Hebrides. We're going to talk about where Frank Sinatra's hanging out, and our guy Rick Bigelow actually sent me a picture from there. We'll be back. Little Eva. Murph tells us she had the number one R&B hit with her version of Locomotion. This date, 1962. As Mel Allen would say, how about that? So after the 10 o'clock news, we're going to have Dominic Morocco on again regarding this Lindsay Clancy murder trial. The prosecution put a couple of experts on. One of them completely bombed, and they disagreed with each other. So it's like Dominic and I were saying the other day, but we'll follow up with Dom today. It's like they're giving the opening for this woman to, and I'm going to run what my theory would be and what I would do in the closing, but they're giving this woman the opportunity to get off and be treated for mental illness. And I'm of two minds on that one. But you have to keep thinking of the children. And I said this to Cutie yesterday. I said, Cutie, you know, if it was 3 puppies that she had strangled, you'd have some of the same women who are protesting outside the courtroom. They'd be livid. They'd be asking for the death penalty. And you know what's sad? You guys know I'm right about that. In any event. But yeah, let me go back to this teacher, because John Toronto was my teacher in 8th grade. And we're talking about it. It's not an easy job. And I want to be crystalline clear. It ain't the teachers. It's the teachers' unions. What is Randy Weingarten? What would she know about education? She doesn't care. By the way, got a nice text. Bob loved the show. LTS back at you. And that song, Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, brought back such memories that I stopped the car, threw it in park, and went to the car behind me. Now, he didn't get shot. He said there was a beautiful young woman in the car. I pulled her out of the seat, and we were dancing in the street at the red light. Unbelievable. You made memories come true, and I'm on the road doing my job. Thanks. Bob LTS. Back at you. Back at you. Somebody says, actually, the teachers unions don't control curriculum requirements. The Pennsylvania Department of Education does. All right, it's a repeat of the same text. Yeah, please don't tell me that the teachers union does not impact curriculum. Substantially, by the way. And somebody says, I agree. Thanks for clarifying. The teachers are not the same as the union leadership. Most don't hear the difference. And yes, PDA is political. Yep. In any event, yeah, and you're right. That's the sad part. These public employee unions, the SEIU, they have a left-wing political agenda that's completely divorced from what their membership needs and what the membership wants. They take the membership's money and then Randy Weingarten goes to Ukraine with it and pursues all kinds of left-wing lunacy. And the other fool that's the head of the teachers union, that's the one that screamed and yelled at the teachers' convention. No, these are true fools. I mean, if we could get them to listen to the show, we have been approved by the FDA as idiot medicine. So I just want to remind people of that. By the way, let me quickly get to this where Sinatra is now. Because Rick Bigelow, he changes it. He says, Espiritu Santo is the largest island in the nation and archipelago of Vanuatu. It's formerly the New Hebrides. It's south of Guadalcanal and north of New Caledonia. During World War II, particularly after the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, the island was used by American naval and air forces as a large military supply and support base, naval harbor, and airfield. In highly fictionalized form, this was the location of James Michener's Tales of the South Pacific and of the following Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, South Pacific. At the end of the war, a vast amount of vehicles, supplies, and equipment at the bases was deemed not needed and too costly to ship to the U.S. The U.S. attempted to sell much of the gear to the French for 6 cents on the dollar. The French hoped that by buying none of the gear, the U.S. would abandon the base and they would get everything for free. But the U.S. had the Seabees build a ramp into the sea near Luganville Airfield. The gear was then dumped into the sea. The base was abandoned in February of 1946. Today, the site is a tourist attraction called $1 Million Point because of all the food or all the equipment we threw away to spite the French. See, we spite the French. It's not just the other way around. All right, this hour, and we're going to hear from her later in the program, brought to you by Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's International Realty in Naples, Florida. She is your trusted guide for Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. You could reach her at Sotheby's Realty in Naples or Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com. We'll be back. It's the time for the news. 10 o'clock on my Bacardo Jewelers watch. And I get to tell you, there's a little bit of construction there, but you can still get in pretty easily, still park, all of that. Our fool mayor's trying to get all the construction done no matter what damage she does to businesses because she doesn't have a clue about anybody who actually earns money. So she's got construction all over the place for her benefit, not theirs. There was no problem with the sidewalks at Picardo's. That's my opinion, because I've been there all the time. Anyway, they've got Raymond Weil, Breitling, Oris, Longines, Michelle, Shinoa, Luminox, Swiss Army, Seiko, Ball Watches, Tory Burch, Victorinox, Bulova, G-Shock, and, of course, their own Bacardo Jewelers watch, which is what I wear. And Bacardo Jewelers, your Bacardo's watch store time is 10:01. Time for the news with Brian Hughes. We'll be back with Dominic Morocco on this Lindsay Clancy trial. Great. Good morning, everyone. 10:07 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful, what is today? I don't even know what today is. Well, it's Tuesday, August 25th, year of our Lord 2026 here in the great Northeast, and I suspect a few places elsewhere. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like Joseph Belomo, Pittston, John Gavern, Scranton, Kenneth Sluxer, Shick-Shinny. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense after that brief news adjournment, promising that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here, and reminding you of the recent FDA approval of this program as idiot medicine. We're a proven cure for idiocy. Just listen in. If you think we should have an open border, if you're part of the trans insanity, if you think you should have Medicare for all, if you're against stepping down the Muslim hordes, we're your cure. Reliable, effective, and no known side effects. We're back. Somebody thinks at Bob LTS regarding this Clancy trial. I do wonder why these doctors aren't being prosecuted for negligence. How many drugs can a person consume without having altered thoughts? Just wondering why they're not being held responsible. How tragic all around. Well, they have sued civilly. I don't think you can, and I haven't followed it intensely. That's why we have Dominic Morocco here. But I don't think there was any criminal intent. There was negligence, in my view, by the multiple providers for Lindsay Clancy. But, and they didn't seem to be even working together on her case and helping her. And it certainly contributed to the tragedy. And it's what it is. But that's why we have Dominic Morocco to wade in and tell us his thoughts. Dominic Morocco was a criminal prosecutor for Dauphin County here in Pennsylvania for years, and then in Washington, D.C. with the feds, with the U.S. Attorney's Office there. And he's with us now. Dominic, welcome back to the Bob Cordaro Show.
Bob, good morning. Great to be with you.
All right, so I made a couple of comments to the audience, and you could either bear them out or disagree. I said that it seems like the prosecution screwed up again because they had, the one guy was just awful and got crucified on cross-examination, the one rebuttal expert. The other was really solid, really good in my view. But having them disagree with each other was maybe the worst disaster.
Yeah, exactly, Bob. And I couldn't agree with you more. It was very strange to me, a couple of things. Number one, why they called that first guy, which I think we can both agree, and a lot of people can agree, he was essentially a dud, if you will, for the prosecution. His substantive knowledge seemed to be lacking. His credibility was certainly called into question. And what he did, even worse, was I think he then had a lingering effect on the next guy the prosecution called, who seemed to be more credible. Yeah. But here's the interesting thing, Bob, and you mentioned that they disagreed, but what's even worse, and I'm sure the defense is going to argue this in closing argument, is that those two doctors together at the very same time, simultaneously, interviewed Lindsay Clancy together in the same room for multiple days. Yes.
Oh, I missed that. Wow.
Yeah. They reviewed the same documents. They listened to her same responses, simultaneously watched her nonverbal demeanor, and still came to differing conclusions. And so if I'm the defense attorney, if that's not reasonable doubt in itself, you know, what else could be?
Oh, I did not know. Does that seem – you've used multiple experts in prosecutions. Would you have them examine the person or do it independently or together? What's the point of having them?
Yeah, it's very strange. You know, I don't know the behind the scenes of the strategy in this case, but I find it very odd to have them do it at the same time. And in my experience, I've always done it independently for this very reason. You want to avoid two things. You want to avoid any conflict in their opinions. But if they're the same opinion, Bob, I would not want to be the prosecutor and having to then argue why there's no bias because they were both in the same room at the same time.
You can't win either way.
Neither way, no.
Wow. Now, Dominic, the prosecution has been milquetoast at best in this case, and the defense lawyer is just a guy you'd want to have a beer with and hang around with, and that you would trust. He's really established that, certainly with the viewing audience, if not the jury. That we will find out. My thought, though, I said, okay, if I'm the prosecution, let's take all my screw-ups. And I would say, because you got to bring it down to basics since they complicated the case so badly, bring it down to basics and say, look, she tried to commit suicide. That meant she knew she did something wrong. She was capable of mens rea.
Exactly, Bob. Yeah, if you're the prosecutor, that's your number one argument, coupled with the corroborating evidence of her planning. You know, she sent the husband to the store to pick up takeout food. And then I would also get into the situation with this wasn't a killing of some, you know, quick car accident type thing. This was, she had to make a decision to go to the basement to choose which child she would do first. And I don't mean to sound morbid, but she'd have to.
But that's what the prosecution should say, right?
That's right. She chose, you know, these devices and these exercise straps. In other words, go through every single decision that had to be made to demonstrate that regardless of what mental illness may have existed, she still had the ability mentally and intellectually to make these decisions towards the outcome she sought.
I could picture taking the exercise straps and twisting them in front of the jury.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and then the other fact, Bob, that's
with pictures of the kids sitting there, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. The other fact the prosecution will hopefully, if I'm them, latch onto is that she made comments to several people that, you know, that she was the only one that'd be able to take care of the kids. In other words, if suicide was her goal, then the prosecutor should argue that she killed the kids because if she was going to be gone, she didn't want them with anybody else for care.
Yeah. Man, it is funny, though, and I think you've noticed it. And by the way, discredit to the prosecution, credit to the defense. Nobody's talking about the tragedy of the three murdered children. They're talking about her mental health, her efforts to get help, and the conflicting and over-drugging and advice that she received.
That's right. Yeah, and you said it best, Bob. Credit to the defense because they are taking away that part of it because that you know, the murders itself or themselves are what would inflame the jury and draw on emotions, et cetera. And right now, for the last 3, 4, 5 days of testimony, this has not been a trial about murder. This has been a trial about psychiatric illnesses.
Which is exactly what the defense wants.
Exactly. And that's why, and it's again, Bob, it's an interesting thing because when we talked about this one of the previous times is that certainly the prosecution was going to call a rebuttal regardless. But the fact that they saved this current expert, who seems to be fairly credible, for the end and did not put him in their case in chief is adding further to the last words of the prosecution being all scientific. And you know this, Bob, but one of the first things you learn as a trial lawyer, both by textbook and in practice, is that it's always best to have primacy and recency in your favor. In other words, present your best evidence up front and save some best evidence or repeat it at the end. And right now, the prosecution is losing that recency element because they're all science and not emotion or not murder.
Now, after seeing the experts and the dismemberment of one of them by the defense, do you still hold with what we discussed the other day, which is that it is most likely she gets innocent by reason of temporary insanity?
Yes, from what I've seen, and nothing has changed my mind since then, I think that the prosecution, either on their own doing or because of the great work by the defense, has an insurmountable task ahead of them to get the jury to decide that not only did she do it, which really isn't in question, but that she knew exactly what she was doing and had the criminal responsibility element to do it. The caveat I'll give is this, Bob, and I don't know. Some of it hasn't been publicized, so I don't know what necessarily has occurred behind the scenes. We may see it today, et cetera. But the defense attorney is likely going to weigh a decision to ask the judge to potentially give a jury instruction on involuntary manslaughter. In other words, a crime that's a lesser offense, but saying that because her mind was so diluted with medication, she involuntarily committed these homicides. The delicate part is that when you introduce something like that, and it would be considered a compromise for the jury, in other words, they wouldn't fully acquit her, they wouldn't find her not guilty, but then they wouldn't find her guilty of murder.
Yeah.
That sometimes is an element you got to be careful of as a defense attorney because you don't want to give a jury the easy way out. But it'll be interesting to see what happens if he makes that argument, and then if he does, what the judge does with it as well.
Were you, in reflecting, were you surprised the defense did not bring up what a lot of women, including my cutie, are talking about, which is the sort of indecipherable timeline of the husband's activities? I mean, the one thing that's for sure, she is convinced, Lindsay Clancy, that she committed the murders. But she might have been talked into that, and that the defense counsel decided not to even touch that, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I agree with that strategy, Bob, because even though, in our discussions there might be some prima facie or even more evidence to put the husband or the ex-husband in the ringer there, what the defense attorney probably thought, or at least what I'm surmising he thought, was if they attempt to introduce that timeline or an alternative theory of Ms. Clancy not committing the murders, they would not want to have introduced improperly some type of burden in the jury's eyes to where they then had to prove it more. In other words, it's not the defense's burden to prove who else did it or whatnot, and he probably wanted to stay away from that issue altogether, because if the jury heard the husband could have done it, they may have been wondering from the defense attorney why they weren't presenting more evidence to prove that.
Yeah. Now, procedurally, we're guessing the last witness will be this morning. Am I right on that? I don't think there's... That's correct.
Yeah, from what I heard, they're finishing up cross-examination of one of the experts now, and then the prosecution has already informed the judge they have one more witness. So depending upon the length of that direct and cross, that probably takes us to definitely the lunch break, if not the mid-afternoon break as well.
And then there's a lot of work to do because the jury instructions have to be agreed to, negotiated, fought over, and then they've got to be given to the jury, closing arguments, And we should, though, be able to get it done this week and at least given to the jury.
Yeah, I think so, Bob. I think unless something out of the ordinary occurs with scheduling, they should be having the closing arguments and jury instructions tomorrow, which should put it in the jury's hands, if not afternoon tomorrow, certainly tomorrow evening. And I would expect then a verdict by the weekend. And here's why I say that, because having done many of these myself, typically a jury is not going to want to let something go beyond into the weekend. So that's why I think Friday is number one, is a possibility. Number two, because of the nature of this case, the judge would have to consider potentially sequestering the jury if they were not able to come to a verdict by Friday, because he would not want them out and about in the streets while they were still in deliberation. And so once the jury gets wind of that, just by human nature and having had sat there for a month plus, my guess is that we'll have a verdict before the end of this week.
I won't bring you into my mess, but I commented to the audience in the last hour. I said, if there's all these women protesting outside then please don't even comment on this. With all half of these women that are protesting outside the courtroom on behalf of Lindsay Clancy, if it had been 3 puppies that had been killed, they would have turned against her and be asking for the death penalty.
It's the interesting thing about these cases, Bob, is it introduces outside of the courtroom all of these societal norms and issues and discussion points and conversations and topics. And these jurors are human, Bob. And as much as we instruct them and tell them not to consider anything, it's almost impossible to avoid seeing those things. Can you imagine as a juror driving up to the courthouse every day and seeing, oceans of people wearing these pink T-shirts, demonstrating for mental health? It's a difficult thing to do as a juror, and certainly, it's very difficult to predict what someone thinks.
Well, Dominic Morocco, thank you very much. Our prosecutor, soon-to-be defense attorney here in Pennsylvania. Thank you, my man, and we'll talk after the verdict, probably later this week.
Look forward to it, Bob. Always a pleasure.
All right, Dominic Morocco. We'll take a break. We'll be back 10:25 on my Cordaro Jewelers Watch. Our Veterans Tribute, as always, brought to you by our man, John Basiliga. And on Tuesdays, we feature one of his great companies, the Serenity Care Personal Care Community. 4 senior living facilities located in the Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County. Old Forge at its southern tip, Wyoming and Kingston. Dementia care units at the Mid-Valley and Kingston locations. All of these facilities have been completely renovated inside and out. They are beautiful because John has a passion for providing the highest quality senior care in the area, and he's done it. All-inclusive monthly rent, individually controlled heating and cooling in each resident room, medication administration, safe storage, daily housekeeping and laundry, freshly prepared restaurant quality meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And the places are beautiful. Serenity Care. John Gavern. He was 79. We lost him August 11th. He was from Scranton. He fought a long and courageous battle with COPD. His wife of 57 years is the former Judy McGurran. John Gavern was born in Scranton, a graduate of Central High School in Doylestown. He proudly served all of us in the United States Army in Vietnam with the Big Red One during the Tet Offensive. Prior to retirement, he was employed as a truck driver and was a member of the great Teamsters Local 229. John loved to spend time in his garage with his friends. He loved to watch hummingbirds at his feeders. Surviving, in addition to his wife Judy, his daughter and her husband, son and his wife, 6 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren, because he has a great-granddaughter and soon to arrive, twin great-grandchildren. For his funeral, they said everyone's asked to dress like a celebration in casual and colorful clothing. John Gavern, our great veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Serenity Care, the personal care community who tells you, live better with us. AccuWeather forecast. This is sponsored by our great friends at Montage Mountain. The water park's still happening, baby. And they've got all kinds of specials. Check out their website or call because you can get some great deals as the summer ends. Today, partly sunny with shower and spots this afternoon. It'll be about 76 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy down to 54. Tomorrow, mostly sunny. High 82, low 64, maybe the best day of the week. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. High 79, low 64. Friday, clouds yielding to some sun. Thunderstorm possible in parts of the area. Humid, high 82, low 58. Saturday, partly sunny, pleasant and less humid. High 79, low 58. Another great water park week at Montage, where it's 66 degrees right now. I promise you, coincidence. Ray Stevens, a song that would never even be released today. This date, 1962. He moved into the top 10 charts at number 9 with his hit, Ahab the Arab. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Let's go right to the blower. We got Luciano from Luzerne County. Hi, Luciano.
Thank you, Bob, for taking my call. What I say may be disturbing, but I have to say it. I don't mince words. Just like I told the call screener, Bulldog, one comment, one statement. I've heard people say, this is not I disagree with them. They say they like your message is profound, but they say the harshness of the tone of your voice is sometimes irritating. What do you have to say about that, please, Bob?
Well, it's intended to irritate. I mean, these are big issues. These are existential issues for our country and our culture. And I get lathered up about them. And we're fighting for the sake of this country and the future of this country. So, yeah, no, we don't pull punches here. There's no time.
Irritate.
There's no time for snowflakes. There really isn't. They're not coming with you anyway.
Right, I agree with you because where I've come from, unfortunately, I've seen the good and the bad and the ugly, and just like you've said, and where you've lived and how you've experienced some painful situations, you can't mince words nowadays. But I'm just saying there's people that, like I just stated to you, and I'm glad you don't feel the stress and the need to tone your voice, and I'm sure you have a high. My educated voice. I think you're probably the most listened to talk show host on WILK. I could be mistaken, but this is my opinion because of you don't waver from the truth. You don't waver from how this country is going down like the Titanic.
Well, Luciano, we said it very often in this show. Look at that. People would send in, oh, it's hate speech. What you're saying is hate speech. I said, just because you hate to hear it doesn't mean it's hate speech. There's just a group of people out there that don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear facts. They don't want to live in reality. They want to live in a world that sustains them somehow and is safe for them, that is separate and apart from where we actually exist today. And we don't have time for that.
I agree with you, Bob. And one last statement, just like people can talk about the painful situations that you've been, like you've lived in prison. And I also lived in the streets, unfortunately, and the good Lord Jesus Christ pulled me out of it and had mercy on me. People do only look through what's happening at this present time because of what the Democrats have done in the past 7 years. They don't see what we see. They see the world through rose-colored glasses, Bob.
Well,
Would
Luciano,
you agree?
Anybody that is in support of what is Democrat Party orthodoxy regarding policy, there's something wrong with them and their thinking. There's no doubt about it. And I challenge anybody, show me the daylight between the Democrat Party and the Democrat Socialists of America. The Democrat Party, in response to its donors who hate this country, has become anti-American, has become communist. It's not just the DSA. They just disagree with the DSA telling the truth about what they believe. It's the only difference.
Keep up the good work, Bob. Thank you.
All right, man.
Take care. Thank you.
And we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. The stories. Murph tells us this date, 1973. They moved up to number 1 with their hit Brother Louie. Bob Cordaro back with you on the program. Let's go right to the blower. We got Fred from West Pittston. Fred, how are you, brother?
Good, Bobby. I just want to tell you, last week I didn't get to talk to you about Barna and the way you expressed yourself and the compassion you have for these people that served. And the words are, I don't know how you find them, how you do it, but you just do it with such grace and really, really good.
Well, I'm honored to hear that. In fact, I'm going to down to Freeland for his wake tonight. And he was such a great guy. And a regular guy that rose above it. He wrote eloquently about his experiences. And man, he was in the soup, boy.
I like to tell you a little story, but my father-in-law in World War II, Purple Heart, his brother, lost his life, and I talked to him when he was living. He died in 2010, but he served with them, and he something went off and he lost his hearing. So every time I went to talk to him, and I did ask him several questions about the war, and he would never look at me. He turned his head, and he wouldn't talk about it because he lost his brother and who knows?
Yeah.
But I mean, I have stuff. We have stuff down the cellar that he has, and my wife. It's unbelievable. But he liked me. He didn't like many people, and he liked me, and that's hard to like me. You know what I mean? Because I'm really hard from the father. And, it's the truth, Bobby. But he liked me because I cut the grass for him, and we had a beer. We get pizza from Old Forge on the way up to Taylor to visit him. And remarkable people. But, I had to write everything down to talk to him, and it was hard. But I had the pleasure of knowing him of several years,
And their experiences were something that I know I'll never, I doubt I'll ever have. It's just incredible.
Yeah, and I go up and do the graves, and all that, and I enjoy it. It's what I do.
No, thank you, man, for all that. We got to make sure.
God bless you, Bobby.
Make sure we don't forget him, right, Fred?
Yeah, you do a great job. Thanks.
Thanks, brother. All right. Let's go to Holly from Hanover. Holly, how are you?
Pretty good, Bob. How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
I'm calling because I wondered if you had seen anything on the internet about Prince Harry last week laying a wreath at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in Arlington National Cemetery.
I did not see that. I saw that on the note from the Bulldog, but I did not see anything about that.
Right. It was August 19th that he was there, and he had his medals on from the Queen's Jubilee.
Okay.
Now, he wasn't in uniform because he's not allowed to use the uniform. But I wondered, since you're very big on veterans, I myself had a husband who fought in Vietnam, and I'm very upset about Harry. He's not an American citizen. He's, as a matter of fact, he's gone against our Constitution, said the First Amendment was bonkers. And I just wondered.
He's a goofball, but he served in combat areas when he was still normal, before Meghan got a hold of him. So, as a veteran, he may have the right to do that,
I don't know. He's not even an American citizen. I just wondered if maybe some of your other listeners had an opinion on this, if they saw it. And I just wondered who allowed this to happen.
Yeah, I have not heard anything about it. I'm sure, what happens all the time, though, and I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Holly. Our listeners are like millions of eyes and ears, and someone will have heard about it. Could it be a meme maybe that you saw, or it was news?
No.
Okay.
Nope, it wasn't. And they actually people online got a hold of the woman who is like the executive director of cemeteries
Mm-hmm.
and the Arlington Cemetery, and said she was hosting him. And
Fascinating.
as far as his military action, you have to wonder how much he actually did.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you bringing this to our attention, Holly. Thank you. We'll look into it.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. 10:50 on our Bacardo's watch. Time for Bloomberg Money Minute. I remember this one. Murph tells us this date, 1973. Tony, Orlando, and Dawn moved from number 14, number 8 with their hit, Say Has Anybody Seen My Sweet Gypsy Rose? Bob Cordaro back with you on the eponymous program. A couple of texts I wanted to get to. Bob, once again, a left-wing judge blocked Trump's immigration policy, despicable. And they were already told that they cannot impose national injunctions by the Supreme Court. See, the law is irrelevant to the left-wing lunatics. Unbelievable. I have not seen this order. Somebody back to the Lindsay Clancy trial said, in all of this circus, nobody's mentioning the poor innocent children. 3 of them that were strangled one by that criminal mother. I don't care if she's sick or not. She belongs in prison for the rest of her life. I got to tell you, I can't disagree with you. I'm wondering what's that about, you know? By the way, in the interim, and thanks to Holly for bringing it to our attention, I've got to tell you, Holly, I don't have a problem with him doing it. He's a veteran. And I just give a lot of credence. Being a veteran doesn't mean you've got views that make sense. He's been poisoned by the wife, the American wife. Seemed normal until that. But, I mean, he was 10 years in the reserves. He learned how to be an Apache helicopter pilot. This is not an untalented person. He was at a public wreath-laying ceremony that was happening anyway, is my understanding. He walked the rows of graves to honor fallen service members, spoke directly with families of the fallen. He also visited wounded veterans at the Walter Reed Medical Center during his trip to Washington. I mean, I'm down with it. I like the fact that he did something normal. And something that's a bit in keeping with what he was, which is a prince of Great Britain. So I'm not against it, Holly. We will respectfully disagree with each other. Somebody texted this in, and I got this sent by my man Hoove as well, the electrician, and I have the obit, and it was just printed out for me. We're going to pick a day to honor him. There was a big honor sent out to Sergeant Paul Welby from Scranton. He was a longtime National Guardsman, passed away from cancer, most likely acquired from the burn pits in Afghanistan. Good friend, great guy, and served us for over 20 years, says the electrician. I noted his passing, and it's tough. Universally, I look at the people who featured him, and I'm including you in that, electrician, who featured him and brought him to my attention, and I thought to myself, on social media, and I said he must have been a hell of a guy. Must have been a real good guy, and 20 years serving us, fantastic. Hey, my Bacardo's watch tells me it's 11 o'clock, so I want to remind you, Roach Supply is bringing you this program on YouTube. You just go WILK, Bob Cordaro Show. And they are the premier bath and kitchen supplier in Northeast Pennsylvania. 75 years in business. 96-year-old Ron Roach at the helm. 3 generations working under him and with him. Visit roachsupply.com today, ROCHE, or visit their stores in Honesdale or in South Abington Township under the name of Chapman Supply. Roach Supply. We'll be back after the news. We've got a guy, Anupam Gildyal, and if I don't have it right, he's going to correct me after the news, talking about rare earths and all of those issues after this. You know it does, baby. Great good morning, everyone. It's 11:08 a.m. on my Cordaro Jewelers watch. This beautiful Tuesday, August 25, year of our Lord 2026. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and honor, with the help of our man John Basiliga and his great Serenity Care personal care community, the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like the veterans we've lost this year, but celebrate today thanks to John. Like John Gavern of Scranton, Joseph Belomo of Pittston, and Kenneth Slusser of Chickshinny. So with history, our amazing founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order today's meeting of the Club for Common Sense after that brief news adjournment, promising that our deep and unalterable commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity to all of you who hearken here. And we are touting our approval by the FDA that we are an approved idiot medicine. We have a proven cure for idiocy, and there are no known side effects. So listen here, and we'll cure you. We promise. So Anupam Gulyal, he's the COO, Chief Operating Officer of a U.S.-based rare earth company, Realloys. And he's here to talk about the race with China to secure critical minerals needed to power America's military and AI ambitions. And even though China is loosening some rare earth shipments to the U.S., they dominate the supply chain. and they're willing to use it for geopolitical leverage. Okay. Realloys is working to build a domestic heavy rare earth to magnet supply chain and recently announced a partnership with the U.S. Army aimed at securing American rare earth supply and processing. Now, we played that clip of Senator Josh Hawley questioning the Interior Department head under Joe Biden regarding the insanity of the Wilderness Society dictating, financed, by the way, by a foreign billionaire, and meaning the Wilderness Society, influencing Interior Department policy so that we were taking, particularly in the state of Minnesota, places that had the rare earth minerals right off the boards. Crazy stuff. So here he is, Mr. Gulyapal. Welcome to the Bob Cordaro Show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
I'm great. Happy to have you on and have some clarifications. First, let's start with the basics. Tell us what rare earth metals are, because it is somewhat of a misnomer.
So rare earth metals are a group of 17 elements that most people have never heard of, but they use it on a daily basis. They are inside your phones, inside your computers, like the mic that you're using right now for the radio show, the headset that you're wearing, every single GPU that goes into an AI system, every single magnet that is being made in the world, which is used for powering drones to missiles to F-35s. So these are a group of 17 elements that are pretty closely knit together. And there is a reason why they are called rare, because they are not available in abundant supply, and the world cannot run without them.
And your company, tell us about Realloys.
So Realloys is a company which is listed on NASDAQ under the ticker symbol Alloy, A-L-O-Y. And we are a fully integrated mine-to-magnet company focused on heavy rare earths. So what we do is we take the mining concentrate that has got rare earths in it, separate it into individual rare earth elements, then convert them into oxides, then convert these rare earth oxides into rare earth metals, and eventually use these metals to make magnets, which power the modern economy.
And are you one of the few American companies that does this?
Yeah, we are one of the very few American companies that are fully integrated and do this. And what makes us stand out is our focus on heavy rare earths, which are dysprosium and terbium. You would find a few companies in the US that are producing a decent amount of light rare earths. But without the heavy rare earths, you cannot make any of the magnets that go into drones, into humanoids, into missiles, into F-35s. So without these heavy rare earths, your entire defense ecosystem gets crippled.
Now, where are they found in the U.S.? I know there were mines in the Southwest. I know Minnesota is a great source of it, except that its political leaders are preventing that. But tell us about where these are found.
So as President Trump mentioned, like a year ago or something like that, and so did Elon Musk and many other national leaders are talking about it, it's not that the rare earths are rare. The processing of these rare earths is rare.
Yeah.
And that is controlled completely by China. So 90% of processing of rare earths happens in China, and 97% of the heavy rare earth processing happens in China. So rare earths are not the bottleneck. The midstream processing, where the process where you take these mining concentrate and convert them into oxides and metals, that's lacking. And that is where we are focused on.
And where do you process them right now?
So we have a partnership with a facility in Saskatchewan, Canada, and we also have acquired a company in Ohio called PMT Critical Metals. So that's where we are processing most of our rare earths.
And there are obviously very stringent environmental guidelines that you have to follow. Do you feel as though ReAlloys can expand its business, can expand its processing operations in the United States?
Absolutely. So the two core things that ReAlloy stands for is one is sustainability and second is efficiency. So in both of these areas, we have brought a lot of innovation and innovative processes into processing of these rare earths. So for example, our solvent extraction line that we are working on with our partners, SRC, it is one of the most efficient solvent extraction lines and also sustainable. So in that entire facility, we do not have any liquid waste. We convert all liquid waste into solid waste to dispose it off.
That's impressive.
We use modern computer vision and AI algorithms to improve the efficiency of the process, which allows us to get about 98% yield in solvent extraction, which is unheard of.
Yeah.
And then with our acquisition in Ohio, we invented a new process where one of the steps of this entire chain is converting oxides into fluorides, which requires the use of hydrofluoric acid, which is a very, very nasty acid, probably the nastiest acid known to man. So we have developed a new process where we have completely eliminated the use of this hydrofluoric acid, which means that you don't have to store it, you don't have to use it, you don't have to dispose it, the workers are safe. So these are the kind of innovations that we are bringing in terms of sustainability and efficiency, and that's the only way that you can compete with China.
Who are your competitors? Are there any other public companies that are your competitors to ReAlloys?
Yes, there are a few companies that are listed in the public markets in the U.S. One is MP Materials, which is one of the leaders in light rare earth metal production in the U.S. There is another company called USA Rare Earths, which has received a significant amount of funding from the U.S. government, and a few others. But what makes us stand out is that we are fully integrated. We are unique in that sense that we have a processing facility which is capable of processing rare earths that have radionuclides in them, aka uranium and thorium. So without that, you cannot process most of the rare earths. Mm-hmm. With our facility in Saskatchewan, Canada, we already have the permits and the approvals to process rare earths with uranium and thorium in it. Makes us unique, gives us independent and unique status in terms of being able to accept mining concentrate with heavy rare earths in it and then process it fully into oxides and metals and eventually magnets.
And where are you sourcing your rare earth materials?
So, one, we have our own mine in Saskatchewan, Canada. It is one of the top 3 heavy rare earth mines in Canada. In addition to that, we have supply agreements with multiple entities in North America, in South America, and Europe. These are mines that are either producing today or going into production in the next few years. So we have a very diversified ecosystem of suppliers for these rare earths in allied nations.
And by the way, our Anupam Gildyal is the COO of U.S.-based rare earth company Realloys. Nothing in the future, and a lot of our defense industry, a lot of AI, is not happening without what you guys do.
100% correct. And that is the reason why we are so important. And that is the reason why China, every single time President Trump tries to impose a tariff on them, the first thing that they do is cut off the supply of these rare earths, because they know that without that, the U.S. economy cannot really function. And then U.S. has to get back on the negotiating table, and we are trying to change that. It is not going to change overnight, but I believe with us and a few others who are serious players in this space, we can ensure that in the next 5 to 10 years, we become independent in terms of rare earth production here in the U.S.
And I'm hoping people start to understand we cannot outsource this. It's literally, we can't do it.
Yeah, the funny story is, like, back in the 80s and 90s, U.S. was the leading processor of rare earths. And then we decided that it is too much of a polluting process and cumbersome. Let's move it to China. So we taught China how to process rare earths. And now 40 years later, they have mastered the art, built the infrastructure, got the supply chain in place, because it's not just the rare earth being produced in China. Rare earth being produced in Brazil, in South Africa, in Australia, and many other countries is being processed today in China. So China controls the processing, and what eventually the AI, the GPUs, the drones, the humanoid robots, and everything use is magnets and metals. So it's not the mining ore that is important. It is the final processed product, which is the metal or the magnet, which is important. Well, and that's why our focus is on midstream processing.
Well, Mr. Gildyar, we appreciate you coming on to inform us about this absolutely critical industry that not a lot of people talk about, but they better start paying attention to. Thank you very much. Anupam Gildyal, COO of Realloys, rare earth company based here in the United States. We thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. the Bob Holton theme song. That's The Knack with My Sharona. This date, 1979, moved up to number 1. And, of course, that monster storm, Hurricane Harvey, 2017 this date. It made landfall near Corpus Christi, Texas. 130 mile per hour sustained winds. 5 days of rain, and you heard the forecaster, 40 inches. Try 52. It was the heaviest tropical downpour ever recorded in the continental United States. At least 68 people died as a result or in the storm, and it caused an estimated $125 billion in damage in Texas. Wow. That's a big storm. You know, we don't have the greatest weather around here, but we don't have that. That's important to remember. Hey, Kendall Hancock is on the blower regarding the Gino Murley Veterans Home. Kendall, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Bob?
Outstanding. Good to hear from you again.
Yeah, well, it's been a while. I've been going to Houston every winter. I decided I wasn't going to do any more winters up here in PA. But anyway.
Well, I was just explaining how, here's Corpus Christi getting crucified with that hurricane. And I'm saying, I might take our winters over that.
Yeah, well, I'm up here this time of year, not in Houston.
Yeah, well, good to have you back.
But anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know about the Gino Murley fundraising route ride that we're having at the Dixon City Harley dealer there at Electric City. And we kick off our ride Saturday morning at 10 a.m. The ride starts at 10 a.m., so they need to get there probably at least by 9 o'clock to get signed in and all that stuff. It's $20 per person, per rider, and $10 per passenger. And this is our biggest fundraiser of the year. And 100% of the proceeds and grants and everything that, we have from everybody, this all goes, every cent of it goes to the Gino Murley Center. And I believe that at least this one year they get sent us pictures of down all the hallways with all these packages for Christmas. Every person in there got, a Christmas package outside his door.
Nice.
But the thing that I love about the Gino Murley ride is, after, we meet there and, the camaraderie between all the riders. But then what's really the highlight of the day is we finish it, at the Gino Murley Center, and all these patients, everybody that is physically able, they're out there in wheelchairs, beds, and everything. They reel all these guys out, and we all get to go by and shake their hand.
Love it.
And they tell us war stories, and it is absolutely the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life.
All right, so Kendall, and you got to call back again just to remind people of it as the week goes on. Feel free to call. Feel free to call every day, but certainly Thursday and Friday. Give us the deets one more time on this Harley run from Electric City Harley Davidson.
Okay, it's once again the ride begins at 10 o'clock. So
on Route 6, Electric City Harley Davidson, right?
Let's see. Wait a minute. No, kickstands up at noon. At 12 noon.
Okay.
They start the registration at 10 a.m. And it's $20 per person, per rider, and $10 per passenger. And it's just a heck of a day, a wonderful day. These guys are. I don't know if there's any World War II vets left. I know that there was one man that died that was 102. Right after we had, won this last year, but these old guys, this is a big deal for them.
Yes, they love it. They love it.
And they love the attention and all that. It's just wonderful.
Well, they love all you guys that care about them. That's for sure. And our Harley riders, our motorcycle riders are great. Kendall, thank you so much. It's this Saturday. Registration 10 o'clock. at Electric City Harley on Route 6, and then you kickstands up at noon.
Yes.
All right. We'll call in again about it.
We'll go on about a 30-mile ride, and and then we end up at the Gino Marley Center, and that's where the fun begins.
Honest to gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Kendall. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
All right, my man. We'll take a break. 11:32 on my Bacardo Jewelers watch. We'll be back with the Veterans Tribute. How appropriate. After this. Wow. That's part of our Veterans Tribute that's brought to you every hour and every day by John Basiliga. And on Tuesdays, we feature his great Serenity Care personal care community. 4 facilities where they tell you live better. The Mid-Valley section of Lackawanna County, the Old Forge at its southern tip Wyoming, and Kingston in Luzerne County. And I've been to all of them. They are gorgeous, clean. You'd be proud to live there or have a family member be there. They are the gold standard of senior living in Northeast Pennsylvania. Kenneth Slusser. He was 84. He was from Chickshinny. He passed away suddenly at home on July 30th. Born in Bloomsburg, he attended Bloomsburg High School, class of 1959. Just after graduating, he enlisted in the U.S. Army and served all of us honorably until 1962. For many years, he was employed at Bloomsburg Craftsman. Ken liked being outdoors, whether it was hunting, fishing, camping, or gardening. He loved watching wildlife. He was a history buff, was always interested in watching shows on history and visiting historical sites. Past member of the Masons, in 1962, he married his beloved wife, Monica. They would have celebrated their 64th anniversary this month. Together, they raised 3 children and built a strong foundation for many generations to come. In addition to his wife, he will be greatly missed by his sons, Jeffrey, his wife, Scott, cherished grandchildren, 7 of them, 2 great-grandchildren, 8 great-grandchildren, I apologize, and 2 great-great-grandchildren. An amazing legacy. Tragically, Kenneth Slusser was preceded in death by his daughter, Ingeborg Inge Lewis, back in 2018. Kenneth Slusser, Chickshinny, our great veteran this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Serenity Care, who tells you live better. AccuWeather forecast brought to you by the gang at Montage Mountain Resort. It is prime water park week. It really is, and they've got specials galore as the season comes to an end. They bring you the forecast because, hey, the weather matters. Today, partly sunny with shower and spots this afternoon, high 76. Tonight, partly cloudy. It'll be down to 54. Tomorrow, mostly sunny, 82 degrees, low 64. Perfect day for the water park. Thursday, mostly cloudy and humid. Thunderstorm in parts of the area, but I don't think Montage. High 79, low 64. Friday, clouds yielding to some sun with a thunderstorm in parts of the area. Humid, 82, low 58. And then Saturday, partly sunny, pleasant, and less humid. 79 degrees with a low of 58. And that's your weather brought to you by the great gang at Montage Mountain Water Park, where it's 69 degrees right now. It does feel good, doesn't it? Tina Morocco, Global Sales Advisor at Sotheby's International in Naples, Florida. You could reach her at Sotheby's in Naples or go right to the source, Tina Morocco, MURACCO, either .com, her own website, or anywhere on social media. She's your trusted guide to Florida real estate, specializing in Southwest Florida. And here she is. Hi, Tina.
Hey, Bob. How are you?
I'm great. Whenever your theme song comes on, I'm telling you, I do. I get happier.
You love the song.
Yeah, the song says it makes you feel good. It does.
It does. It does.
All right, so tell me, you got some. I know you got something good for us today.
Oh, I definitely do. So yesterday, I was just sitting on the dock of the bay, the Naples Bay, and as I was sitting there, some things started to jump in the water, and I looked down, and there was a bunch of rays down there. And I don't
Wow.
know, yeah. So I don't know how many people are familiar with this, but we've got a lot of rays in Southwest Florida. And if you see them, if you're like standing at the beach and the water's clear, you can see them, or if you're like on one of our piers, they swim in a formation similar to birds, like flying. It's like there's flocks of
Really?
them. Yes, it's incredible. And I mean, there can be like 100 of them at a time. So it's really cool. And the cownose rays, which are really common here, they're little and they come up and they jump up and down a little bit, and you can hear them, like they make little noises. So if you're sitting like on a dock or looking at waterfront property, you oftentimes see them just kind of hanging out by there. But that made me think a lot of times when I'm, looking at waterfront properties or selling them, what's fun is that a lot of the homeowners now are putting the lights on their docks, the underwater lights, so that you can see the fish. So it's almost like an aquarium.
Oh,
It's
neat.
so cool. Yeah, it's so cool. It's such a great feature. And speaking of that, I was thinking, so one of my customers said to me the other day, as I was showing this waterfront property, the dolphins came out. And, you think of the dolphins in the open Gulf, but they're also in the canals too. And the customer looked at me and she was like, "Did you call the dolphins?"
On cue. On cue.
No, yeah, I click my fingers and they come. But no, I don't call them, but it's very, we see them very frequently here because Southwest Florida, and especially the Naples and the Fort Myers area, we have such a high concentration of dolphin here. And it's one of the largest concentrations in the world. And I was just reading about
Wow.
them. They have resident dolphins, so they started tracking them in the 70s, and they have generations and generations of these dolphins. They're like families that have stayed here, for decades. So that's unusual. So that's just another Southwest Florida fact. It's very rare to be out in the water and not see dolphins here.
That's
So
really
it's
neat.
it's
And
just
I mean,
another, yeah.
I know in the Northeast, you go to the Cape May. We used to go to Cape May. People get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go look at these dolphins, and I'm like, you have them in abundance down there.
Yes, we sure do. We sure
Yeah.
do. And so if you're visiting, there's a lot of dolphin tours here, and you're guaranteed to see dolphin. I've never been on one where you don't. So definitely, if you're visiting Southwest Florida, just take one of those tours. It's really quite special.
How neat. Well, it's
Hmm.
once again, you know what it is? Every time you're on, I do my Johnny Carson, he may be too old for you, but he says, "I did not know that." That's what he used to say, and
Yeah.
it fits again today. Thank you, Tina.
Absolutely, Bob.
We love it. The
All right.
Dolphins and the Rays
Mhm.
in Southwest Florida. Tina
Mhm.
Morocco, our global sales advisor at Sotheby's in Naples. And of course, you could reach her through Sotheby's or Tina Morocco, MURACCO.com, or any social media, Tina Morocco. Thank you, Tina.
Thanks, Bob. Take care.
All right. We'll take a break. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Thank you, Gerard. Gerard Mayer. Of course, he's right here in Scranton, but Frank Sinatra, he has moved from New Caledonia to the Sandbar at Luganville Espiritu Santo, Vanuatu. That's where he is, Vanuatu. I don't know. Bigelow said there was a sighting, and that's where Frank is. Hey, real quick, let us go to Mother Teresa, St. Teresa. Having a problem downloading stuff today. Some issue with the internet. August 25th. She says, I don't think there's anyone who needs God's help and grace as much as I do. Sometimes I feel so helpless and weak. I think that is why God uses me, because I cannot depend on my own strength. I rely on him 24 hours a day. If the day had even more hours, then I would need his help and grace during those hours too. I cling to him in prayer, and I encourage you to do the same. Well, the sweep hand of my Cordaro Jewelers watch tells me it's going to be 11:50, and it is. Eric Clapton, Murph tells us out of this tragedy, his son falling out their window on the 52nd floor of their apartment in New York City and dying. That's the name Tears in Heaven. He released his album Unplugged, which he recorded for MTV television show Unplugged, featuring his hit Tears in Heaven, commemorating that tragedy. August 25th, 1992. And on a little lighter note, or a much lighter note, we're going to end with Ray Parker Jr., who had the number one hit on the R&B charts with Ghostbusters. And the Bulldog's just going to play it when he's ready. That's how it's going. Somebody thinks, Bob, was Tina Morocco listening to Otis Redding while she was sitting on the dock of the bay? Yes, I think she could have been. And then Derek says, good morning, Bob, regarding our guest. LTS, I have purchased many rare earth magnets for various woodworking projects, and they are truly unbelievable, the amount of strength that they have. And we better start developing it in America. And that's one of the reasons I brought the guest on today. It was important stuff. By the way, JB texted in, if Biden or Harris were president right now, Iran would still have its nuclear facility. Hamas would still have hostages. Maduro would still be in charge of Venezuela. Our border would still be open. Thank God America woke up last election. I'm with you on that one. Let's go to Jim from Hazleton. Jim, how are you, man?
Good. How you doing, Bob?
Well, Jim, you got to wait. You have a theme song. You got to wait till it comes in. Go ahead, my man. How are you?
It's hard to hear it in the background, but, well, I waited till my birthday to call you. So
happy birthday. Happy birthday,
Thank you.
Man. That's
but
nice.
Quickly, I'm going to stick with my prediction on your birthday, your after birthday prediction. But we're still going to win the midterms. But the Republicans, maybe Donald Trump doesn't care about the midterms, but the Republicans need to, and they need to get off their butts and start talking about the gas prices and affordability, or we're going to get slaughtered.
And they better start talking about all of that, and then normal people have to get out and vote, or the left-wing lunatics and the Democrats will prevail this fall, and it'll be a disaster.
And two quick other points. The Democrats are worried about these polls, but if the polls taught you anything, look at what happened in Said and the governor's race in Wisconsin. The polls aren't that accurate all the time.
Correct.
It's all like the computers, garbage in, garbage out. The polls are only as good as the information they're getting.
Amen.
And last note, on the Prince Harry thing, I'm glad about that we had to hear about it from somebody else and not publicists and put it on TV. And lack of a better term, with celebrities, I'd rather them do low-key stuff that it's not about them and make it about the people that they're going to do. I appreciate that.
Jim, I think it may have been a goodwill effort. I mean, he's not a totally bad guy. He's just henpecked by a silly woman.
Right, but when you don't have the news there and you don't have the publicists contact the media and the media doesn't cover it, then you have to have respect for people like that, because then you don't have to worry about them being suspect of why they're doing it. They're doing the cameras. Look at me, look at me, look at me. I'm doing a good thing. Look at me.
I'm down
when
with you.
Rather than do it for doing it and not for the publicity behind the stunt.
I'm down with you on that, Jim. And again, he's a veteran, and he was around combat even as a prince. So, maybe he's learning.
He probably would have done more combat related if the Queen didn't shut it down, because he was third in line to the throne. So they didn't want to have him out there getting killed.
Yeah, and they knew they'd be looking for him too.
Right.
But hey, Jim, a pleasure. And you had your theme song, and you got Ghostbusters. Can't get better than that.
Nope. And on my birthday to close the show, just about. So,
all right, brother. Happy birthday, my man. Have a great day.
Just quick, there's so many good people born that I share birthdays with. I was listening to Nancy. I knew some of them, but me and Rachel Ray are actually born on the same exact day. So there's a lot of people. Gene Simmons, I'm not going to get into the list, but look up the birthdays today. There's a lot of good people born today.
Well, I only need to know you were born today. That's all I need to know.
The one that's passed on, that was a legend, was Regis Philbin. His birthday was today, too.
I did not
His
hear
birthday.
that. I love Regis. I loved him. We got to know him when he'd come in here every year. Oh,
Yeah, his birthday is actually today, but they didn't say it on the birthday show because he's not alive. But his birthday is today, so there's a lot of things that went on, the liberation of Paris, and all kind of stuff.
We hit that today.
And it's Banana Split Day, which is my favorite ice cream.
I would say it's mine too. It was mine.
I learned that on Nancy's show today. So even though she drinks the Kool-Aid, if you stay away from politics on her show, I do like to listen to her show if she doesn't talk about politics.
I agree with you 100%.
She's not.
Yep.
They're not bad people. They just a little bit. They drink the Kool-Aid. They get on the juice a little bit, and it makes the mind a little crazy. But if they're not on the Kool-Aid and they stay away from politics,
they're okay.
I like to listen
right.
to the show.
Love it. Jim, thank you, my man. Happy birthday, my brother. My Bacardo Jewelers watch says we've got to adjourn for today because it's noon. Noon and change. God willing, I'll be with you tomorrow morning. Have a great afternoon.